Kidnapped Santa by Analynn Riley. Chapter 12. The Race. Everyone was inside the airport warming up with hot cocoa. The policemen and others helping Uncle had gone to get into position. Liam and I had stayed in the plane with Auntie Nicole and the pilot, who let us watch as he parked the jet inside the hangar. That was cool. We were waiting for Auntie Nicole to get word that Monsieur Gâteau-Fruitier had arrived in Flin-Flon. Grandpa's laptop, which Auntie had brought along, started buzzing. She was smiling. "They're here," she said quietly. "They've arrived. The plan is working. Let's go tell the others." I barely remember leaving the jet. I was so excited. I felt like I was walking in the air above the ground, like I was almost weightless, like there wasn't any gravity to hold my feet firm on earth. The plan was actually going to happen. This was more exciting than anything I could remember in my entire life. "Okay, everyone, places," said Liam's dad. He was coordinating the plan. "Can I see the sled one more time before it leaves?" I asked. "Can we all see it? Please, please, please," cried Liam and Makenna. Uncle paused, then said, "Okay, but only for a minute. We have a schedule to keep." In a flash, we were running across the field to where Yuki and his dog family and the sleigh were waiting. Grandpa was making sure the harness straps on the dogs were all fitted properly. He double-checked each clasp. "Looks like Santa's sleigh," Makenna said, admiring the beautiful sight. Liam walked over to Grandpa and started asking questions about the dogs. No sooner had Grandpa answered Liam when Jessica or Lauren would ask a question. They kept asking him question upon question, keeping him distracted so I could climb into the sleigh. That's when I saw them. "Hello, Luke. All ready to pilot this sleigh?" asked the smallest elf, hiding under the bench seat with the red velvet cushion. I nodded as I slid the Santa suit that Auntie had made over my clothes. I pulled on the red hat and black boots. It felt weird. I felt weird. The elves were giggling, so I knew I looked weird. I could see Mom and Dad, Auntie Nicole, and Uncle Sid, Grandma, and my other auntie crossing the tarmac towards the sleigh. Liam whistled, just like we had practiced. Makenna shook the sleigh bells. These were my cues. The four elves patted me on the back, then snuggled down by my feet, hiding from the adults. "Where's Luke?" Dad asked Lauren. "I thought he was with you." I must have been invisible because Dad was close to the sleigh, so would have surely seen me. Were the elves making me invisible? "Luke was here just a minute ago," Grandpa responded to Dad, glancing over the dog team once more. Then, just as I was worried I'd be discovered, I felt the sleigh lifting off the ground. I sat up straight and tall. There was no turning back. I could hear my mom shriek from below, "Luke! Luke!" and then my grandma shouting, "Up there!" The sleigh was above everyone's head. I leaned over the side and waved and smiled. I didn't want them to worry. I looked at each one of their faces, wondering if I would ever see them all again. Their mouths were wide open. I could hear my mum calling my name, but it was too late. The elves hit their magical starter button, and we were off, blasted like a rocket into the cold, wintry air. We didn't fly too high, but high enough to weave in and out of the clouds so the evil Gâteau-Fruitier wouldn't see or hear us. I was nervous at first, but after a few minutes I realized what an adventure this was, a very fun adventure. This was better than any video game, or skiing down a dangerous icy mountain, or deep-sea diving, or jumping out of an airplane, or flying this sleigh was the best. We flew for a short while before one of the elves that had been riding on Yuki's back at the front of our dog team signaled to look below. We saw a dog-sled with one man standing up and steering, and what looked like another man tied up in the middle of the sled. The dogs were small and quick, running hard. One of the elves flew down for a closer look. He zipped back in a flash. "Target confirmed," he said, giggling. "Time to soar, baby." I don't know who Baby is, and I don't know why these elves needed me to pilot this sleigh. It didn't matter if I pulled the reins to the left or right. The sleigh went in the direction they wanted it to go in. And soar we did. The sleigh went for a dive. I held my breath and hung on tight. This was more incredible than any roller coaster ride. We were flying so fast that birds looked like dots zipping by. We soared lower and lower, and then I saw him. It was Santa Claus, who was strapped on the back of the dog-sled. The elf with the green striped shirt was untying him. We started to swoop. We zoomed and swooped. I was sure Yuki's feet were going to touch Gato Fruitier's fur cap. I gasped, closing my eyes. My stomach lurched. We charged full speed ahead, then straight up. My stomach rose to my throat. "Nice flying, son," said the kindest voice. I felt a warm hand on mine. I opened my eyes, and there, right beside me, was Santa Claus. He didn't look much like a Santa with only his underwear on, but his long white beard, his fuzzy white hair, his broken gold glasses, and some of his whiskers missing around his mouth told me that this was the Santa Claus that little kids believed in. Santa spoke again. "Luke, are you okay?" I just nodded. That was all I could do. "Well, Luke, I don't mean to hurry you, but—" "Hey, kid, lose the suit," yelled the tall elf. "Boss is freezing his duff." Within an instant, my hat was now on Santa. The boots were off my feet and on his. The red velvet costume was off in a flash and on the white-haired myth. This was the real Santa Claus. Dressed in his Santa clothes and with a twinkle in his eye, he grabbed the reins and guided the sleigh to the left. "Better move it along, boss. We've got company," shouted the elf riding on Yuki's back. "Company? What company?" "Dogs barking." But our dogs weren't barking. They hadn't barked once since we arrived in Flin-Flon. I looked all around. Right behind us was the dog-sled Monsieur Gato Fruitier had been steering down below on Earth. "How is this possible?" I croaked to Santa. "He's wearing my Santa suit. It has magical powers," Santa responded calmly. "But you are magical, and you're wearing a suit that my auntie sewed especially for you. Maybe the velvet she used doesn't have magical powers, but you can make it magical, can't you?" The same elf that had asked me to drive the sleigh in the first place sat beside me. "Santa has all his magical powers when he has his Christmas Eve suit on. He only wears the suit on Christmas Eve so he doesn't fly off on any other night and wake up in somebody's igloo or in a cave or in someone's house. Santa Claus needs to wear his red Christmas suit." The elf looked over his shoulder to see how close the evil Santa was. "I don't understand." I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what was going on and how we were going to get out of this mess. Monsieur Gato Fruitier and his dog team were gaining on us. The elf started speaking very fast. "Santa's red suit gives him special powers to go through walls, slide down chimneys, and to fly at super speeds. Well, it's working because Monsieur Gato Fruitier's sled is getting closer and closer." I dared to glance over my shoulder one more time to confirm that I had every right to be sick with worry. "Can't you make our dogs go faster? Yuki's smart. He'll listen to you." "The dogs are doing the best they can at pulling this sleigh, which is much heavier than the sleigh Santa Claus uses. Your grandpa did a fine job in making it, but wood is much heavier than the special metal sleigh that Santa uses. Without his suit, we can only go as fast as all our powers of imagination permit us." "Luke, you believed that you would get a new bike that Christmas, and today you believed, even a small bit, that you could fly with us. Now you have to believe a lot, or we'll be outrun by Gato Fruitier." The elf was so serious, Santa Claus looked at me so very earnestly. He shook the reins and called out kindly to the dogs, but the other sled was right behind us. I thought I could feel Monsieur Frute's dogs breathing down my neck, they were so close. The lead dog started baring his teeth and snapping his jaws. He looked mean and hungry as its team drew up beside Yuki's. Gato Frutte whipped his dog team harder, and with each crack of the whip, his dogs ran faster. They were all barking and growling as they sided up next to us. Gato Frutte's dogs were smaller than our team, which allowed them to move more quickly, and his dog team didn't have a heavy load to pull. Gato Frutte shouted, "Pull over, you fat, overrated, commercialized ancient legend! You're no match for me in that old piece of junk you're driving." "Piece of junk!" I shouted. "This sleigh isn't a piece of junk. My grandpa made it with his bare hands and used his special birch from his workshop, and the elves painted it with real gold." I was angry. Angry also was Gato Frutte's dogs. They were next to Yuki's sister and were snapping at her legs. Frutte's lead dog nipped her tail. Yuki's sister winced, but kept pulling. I was getting angrier by the second. We had to go faster, but how? Believe, believe, believe. The elf's words rolled over and over again in my mind. I closed my eyes. I squeezed them shut as tightly as I did when I wished on the star for my red fire truck. I kept wishing. I wished as hard as I could.